It is March the 23rd, 2015. I'm Dana Durnford, your host, the NuclearProctologist.org. And you can find these videos and Fukushima presentations throughout the entire internet. Thank goodness for everybody that shares this and reposts it. And that we are in an environment right now where we are looking at climbing into 6 years of 3 melted reactors, something we have never seen on this planet before. We'll say for sure that the Pacific Ocean and the seafood in the Pacific Ocean is the most important aspects of what we're talking about. And that we got to realize that the fish that are left in the ocean are highly radiated. And that this is not a game. This is meltdowns, melt-throughs, melt-outs, unlike anything we've ever seen before. And that this is Unit 1 coming up. You're looking at it in the background. This is Unit 2. These are 100% meltdown, melt-throughs, melt-outs. And as you can see, the power plants along the coastline of Japan. You can see where the Fukushima Daiichi plant is too, on your right-hand side. That tsunami that came through your country and wrecked your country, those tsunami hit all the plants along 400 miles of the coastline. 400 miles of the coastline, all these is people dying along the coastline. This is Unit 3. This is 100% meltdown. These are right on the ocean. Remember, these detonated and threw the fuel rods all over the site. This is Unit 4. I'm going to come right back to that in a second. But I want you to understand that if you think the government hasn't lied to you, you got to realize the history of lies and how big they really are. Take, for instance, tobacco. Tobacco lie was that tobacco would give you cancer, that the nicotine would give you cancer. But what they didn't tell you was there were 7,000 chemicals in a cigarette. And they still haven't really told you that. A couple of organizations has made it onto TV with ads and finally got the message out in a little way in Canada anyway, for sure. I've been at friends' houses, they've told me about it and then actually showed it to me. So, but that's a major lie. Look at the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. You went to get 10,000 people. Let's not call them Taliban or Mujahideen or any other fancy name you want to give this operation. This was an operation. Let's call them 10,000 people. There are 10,000 people. They use toilet paper or whatever. They want a couch, they want a chair, they want a car, they want a house, let's call them 10,000 people. If you shoot them, they fall down also. They're not bulletproof. They're no different than me or you in that context. They're not superhumans. Most of them are illiterates. There's 10,000 of them. Okay. We created in Afghanistan 5 million orphans. We got millions dead, millions missing, millions in refugee camps, millions unaccounted for. We destroyed their patents in their country. Think about that one. We destroyed their pensions throughout the country and their IDs. We destroyed their crops, and we only allow them to plant genetically modified critters for the next 20 years. So who won the war in Afghanistan? It was Monsanto. Then we went to Iraq and done the same thing to get 10,000 people, 10,000 gangbangers that don't have an army, don't have a navy, don't have a military per se, don't have any kind of budget like America or Russia or China. Yeah? But these are laws that were perpetrated upon you and are still perpetrated upon you. But was perpetrated upon the people in Afghanistan and Iraq. Imagine coming in and putting depleted uranium munitions. Think about Iraq, they fired 5.5 million rounds a month for 9 years. So if you think that the government doesn't lie to you, or that the system, the media doesn't lie to you, where they tell you tobacco is dangerous, but it's the 7,000 chemicals in the tobacco. So if you had two people up in your mainstream media and one said nicotine gives you cancer, not the 7,000 chemicals, said those actual words, what would you say to yourself or your friends or your family, your loved ones, or to yourself? You would say, 7,000 chemicals? What the? Where did that come from? No wonder I can't quit. But the media still tells you nicotine is addictive. Not the 7,000 chemicals, because they don't bother mentioning that. And then we talk about GMO for a quick second. They tell you GMO will cure blindness in Africa. It will cure this. It would have all these benefits. So they took corn on the cob, for instance. They genetically modified it. They took the calcium from 6,200 parts per million down to 114 parts per million. So then they took the magnesium and done the same thing. The iron, carbon, the cobalt, all the micro and macro mineral that was in it. They took it down to 20 parts per million. But then they engineered into the very DNA toxins and dioxins and glyphosates and formaldehyde. And what they do is stop you from uptaking nutrition. So the nutrients that were left in it, you weren't able to uptake it because of the glyphosates and the formaldehydes and toxins and dioxins. But to put that into perspective for you, you'd have to eat 425 corn on the cob, genetically modified, to get the same amount of calcium that you would get out of a single organic. Now, if you're not familiar with that, you need a minute to think about that, don't you? 425 corn on the cob get the same amount of calcium that's in a single organic. Because he engineered it from 6,200 parts per million down to 114 parts per million. You know, you can't make that stuff up. Okay, think about nuclear. Think about, for a gram, you got to get 400 train cars of iron ore to get a gram. Now that 400 train cars of iron ore doesn't just turn to dust or anything else. Right? They got to pour chemicals through it and water through it. An incredible amount of resources just to get a gram, which is 1,000,000 watts. That's pretty impressive. Not as impressive as what you done, how you disappeared 400 train car loads of chemicals. But still impressive. You got something that's smaller than a dime. But that creates enough atoms if you distribute it out to kill all the animals and all the human on the planet. Think about nuclear, where you take a pound of fuel rod, and we're getting to the Pacific Ocean. But just bear with me for a second. I want you to understand that. I want you to be able to absorb that. I want you to be able to consider that in every aspect of nuclear. That a gram of it produces 88 times 37 billion man-made ionizing atoms. And a single atom will give you a cancer, but it could take 5, 10, 15, 20, and it will, for a single atom, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50, 60 years to show up. They manifest, they get diagnosed. And then you start liquidating your assets. Because it's way down the rabbit hole at that stage, right? And you can't associate it with driving past a power plant, having your windows open 60 years ago and sucking into that atom. Can you? But that's how that works. But before that, cancer shows up. There's 1,800 autoimmune deficiencies. And these are like Alzheimer's, dementia, and autism passed on to your children, and many, many, many other things passed on to your children. Deformities, Zika. Deformities are the exact same deformities as radiation would give you. The exact same to the baby. Exactly. Right to the nose, right to the missing eyeballs, right to the missing limbs, right to the lumps of flesh that are still considered humans. That are humans, that could be trapped inside of that in emotional hell. And that are used as pawns for money by people who have disassociated themselves from reality because they've dealt with so much misery You think about Chernobyl, which is a paper towel compared to Fukushima. But Chernobyl's vicious. 3 million children with permanent disabilities. Orphanages after orphanages after orphanages, on top of that, hid away in Belarus. But before we get to the Pacific Ocean, let me stop. Let me come over and say hi to everybody. We'll switch cameras here. Oh, we don't look too weird. And I just got to close down the stream coming in. Yoink. Should have done that right away. I went to do it. Good morning, everybody. Kay, Albert, Amy, Candace, Tyrian, Just Cruising, Kathy, Candace, Amthurst. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Kate. And Kate got the Fukushima Hounds. And you'll find links at my YouTube channel. Beautiful girl by Dana under the videos for a whole lot of people. Kate's got a really nice site there. Has put an amazing amount of work. And had contributed endlessly to the Fukushima expeditions for life along the coastline of British Columbia, Canada for 260 days and 15,000 miles, and helped coordinate and introduce people to that expedition and keep that alive while I was on the ocean. And that is something that is historical. That is something that is so important. That is something, if she was to stop right now, not do another thing, is something she can look back on and say that the whole world didn't get it, but we got it, and we went to work, and we done the job, and that's all we could do. But there it is. It's all there. It's gathered up at thenuclearproctologist.org on top of that, of the whole extinction event on the Pacific Ocean. It's an unbelievable nightmare, and where the nuclear industry is coming out and telling you it's like a banana, it's like a potato chip, like water in the sunshine, and it's not the 7,000 chemicals in your cigarette, it's the nicotine that's giving you cancer. You think about, I'm looking at the wrong camera, you think about, and I got to learn to switch cameras while I'm doing this. You think about how throughout life we have made choices. And we have made stands and we have done battle in our own little world where we decided enough and that we were going to make a stand and learn about a subject and make a change. Just a little change in that attack upon our entire species and there's 8 million other species on this planet. But think about how their resolve can be changed permanently. You know, if you had a meteorite coming at this planet, we would take every university on this planet and we would go to battle in every school and every university to come up with solutions to stop that meteorite from taking out this planet. We would. Because we have no choice. We would see it coming at us. And it'd be like, boing! But think about something that's invisible and you can't see it or smell it or taste it or hear it or feel it or pick it up or throw rocks at it. And that's called radiation. And that it creeps into your food chain and your water supply. And you're told it's like a banana and a potato chip and walking in the sunshine. It's like potassium-40, for instance. And potassium-40 per curry, if you got a gram of it, man-made produces 88 curries, which are 37 billion per curry atomic decays every second. 37 billion atomic decays per second. You melt your organs. But a banana, or that potassium-40, if you gather that up, it produces 0.00071, 71 millionths of a curry. 71 10 millionths of a curry, where a gram of the other stuff, a gram, produces 88 curries, 88 times 37 billion, with no points attached, see? So not 0.00088, it's 88 points, right? So the lye, what would you rather have a gram of? A gram of potassium-40 or a gram of cesium, americium, cesium and iodine? See, they're the tracers. That meant thousands of the other radioactive, long-lived, everything that goes through a chain reaction those atoms, now we're going to jump over to the ocean right away here, but everything that goes through a chain reaction, I didn't bring everybody up and say hi to everybody, even though I'm looking over here at everybody. And they didn't show up because I didn't plug you in. Because Dana is a dork. I can fix it. Sometimes. I can probably screw up everything else I got going here at the same time. And I did. Hang on. You won't notice it over there, but I'll bring over to the other camera for a second. Oh, we jump back on. Jan Brooks is saying that, hi everyone, I see Dana's preamble had 5 likes and no views. YouTube don't like the fact that we're back on season 3 now, episode 3, back streaming 1 hour, 5 days a week at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Canada time. And Jan Brooke has Miss Milky the Clown 1 and Miss Milky the Original site. And that the trolls tortured her on for her first. Well, it was a big learning curve, I'm sure, Jan. When you first go into this industry, they all come at you at one time. And so everybody had to learn and get through it. So, okay, so let's come over. Belgium nuclear power plant evacuated after Brussels terror attacks. What camera am I on? This one. Yeah. So Belgium nuclear power plant evacuated after Brussels terror attack. So you gotta like this one. Hang on. So look at that sentence here. Armed police and Belgium military on site the weekend following growing concerns. They evacuated, kept the skeleton crew on there. Following growing concerns from the energy industry. The same ones who told you it's like a banana and a potato chip. Okay, to beef up security. And energy company ENGIE said all non-essential staff have been evacuated at the request of the Belgian authorities. But like they said in that sentence before, see how they do that? So it throws you off what they just said, but they told you the truth. And then they come out with another sentence that confuses you, is meant to confuse you. It's like when they say, you got to keep it away from the terrorists, but it leaks in your country or community or the Pacific or something like that. It's like a banana or a potato chip. But look at the map of the difference, how far away this is from Brussels, where they had a false flag event, a staged event. Or, you know, we created 5 million orphans and millions of refugees and millions are missing and millions are dead. And you bombed the entire country, got rid of all the patents. There's 28 million disgruntled people here. And then you went over to Iraq. Then you went to Syria and created 7 million refugees for the same 10,000 boogeyman. You done Iraq and Afghanistan. Brussels is next probably. But you done Libya. You done Syria. You got rid of Mubarak in Egypt. With all these fake revolutions from Twitter. And Twitter, if you go back and look at the history of Twitter, who funded Twitter? Right? They actually come out and done interviews with CIA on one side and the FBI on the other side, and then Twitter guy in the middle. Who helped them fund it? And that's why it was all put in the congressional records, right? Everything on Twitter. It's a PSYOP, 100%. But it's a useful PSYOP. I suppose in one sense you can use it yourself, but nevertheless, think about what Facebook does to you. You can get 100,000 people, but you can only reach 4% of them. Wait a second. These people subscribe to you because they want to follow you, but you got to pay Facebook money so the rest of them can get the message you sent out. We live in a twisted world. Okay, we're almost to the Pacific Ocean. But anyway, Brussels, this is important. They abandoned the nuclear power plant. Well, look where the nuclear power plants are in comparison. The 2 nuclear plants, right? Are DOEL. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but Taiheng, or whatever the case it is. And Brussels is they're an hour away. So Canada and America and all the democratic countries that the nuclear cartel has taken over, every government on this planet, literally. But anyway, that's a really interesting one. There was a Counterpunch throw out an article, Fukushima radiation to killer, and they threw out some pretty good arguments. I haven't finished the whole article, I had to go live. And 100 years of ineptitude and a century of nuclear spin. Now think about that one, where South Africa could get $245 billion. Costs 145 to set it all up for a nuclear waste site and reactors. But the corporations will steal the other 100 billion. And South Africa will be stuck for 1 billion years with nuclear waste. Great. Same thing with Australia. Handful of companies will scoop all the money. Australia got nothing but misery for the rest of their life, and taxpayers have to pay for it. Clean, free, and too cheap to meter. It's the biggest lie on the planet. It's like there's cigarettes that are bad. No one bothers telling you about the 7,000 chemicals in a cigarette. Every cigarette. For decades. You tell me there's no agenda. You tell me these people are not out of control. You tell me there's checks and balances. I tell you to give you a head shake, and when it falls off, give it to me and I'll give it a kick for you. Like a soccer ball. Because you're stupid as a rock, no one can help you. You can't say, okay, well, 7,000 chemicals, yeah. Holy cow, they lied to us like that? That's incredible. That's despicable. That's disgusting. No, Dana, they're the government. They're allowed to do it to you, Dana. It's okay, Dana. There's nothing wrong with that. That was then, Dana. Don't bring up old shit, Dana. Okay, let's come back over. And like you say to everybody, the news is endless. How's everybody doing? Anthony, Amthurst, Elaine is out there somewhere, I'm sure. I sat back watching. Let's keep going then. Boom, boom, blah, 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 blah. Let's get over to the crappy nuclear stuff again. Camera 1, Dana, camera 1. Okay. Double check, yeah. Camera 1. Check. Gotcha. Okay, all right. That's Unit 4. Think about this lie. In order to pacify and shut you up and get you away from it, the 3 melter reactors we showed you earlier, they roll out Unit 4. And Unit 4 is not like all the other reactors, trust me. So Unit 4 does not look like that on the inside. Oops. Unit 4 does not look like that on the inside. Don't double click shit, Dana. So Unit 4 on the inside, this is the official picture. So was the other one I just showed you. That's the official pictures of Unit 4. Yeah, Dana, but cigarettes give you, nicotine gives you cancer, not the 7,000 chemicals. You'll never hear that argument. You got Seth Dorn was inside a unit, that building behind you, rolling a video. Look at the picture above him that I put there. Does that make any sense to you? Does that make any sense that he's inside the fuel pool on your left saying he's in the building on your right? Do you get that at all? Hang on here. I lost my spot. Because I double clicked, and you can't double click because I done something the other day that says, you're getting a lot of trouble, you keep doing that shit, Dana. Okay. Think about the tsunami ran through the country. Think about the plants. Think about how many people died along that coastline. They died because the tsunami came through and chopped them up like little bits of wood, like a wood chipper would do. And where those people died, if you look at a corresponding map of the nuclear power plants, not looking good. Hey, mister. Okay, so 1, let's give you a recap. Unit 2, all meltdowns, all many Chernobyls. This one is 2 million Chernobyls. Wait, no, this one is 6 million Chernobyls. Chernobyl's 1/3 the size. Chernobyl was a 30% meltdown. Chernobyl stopped after 10 days. These things didn't stop. These things might never stop. These are a chain reaction, consuming constantly everything you throw at it. All that water is being mixed with fissionable products. Not tritium, but fissionable products. Not tritium. Repeat, not tritium. Fissionable products, curium. This is Unit 4. So they come out and told you look like that on the inside? Let's talk about that for a few minutes. So inside of that building, do you think it looks like that? Huh? Do you? Huh? Do you? Do you think it looks like that inside of that? Do you think inside of that building that's left because they tore it all down, that's what it used to look like, right? Yeah, it looked pretty like that. No, now it looks like that. But that is supposed to be inside of a building they tore down. But that was a what it should look like on the inside is this. But that's their official picture for unit that. Now if it look like that, what do you got that for? You got that because they tore everything off it. Those buildings don't even touch each other. There's no roof inside of that, but yet they show you the roof. These are official pictures from media claiming they're inside of it. But this is what it looks like. You can't get into Chernobyl. These are mini Chernobyls. But yet this is official pictures, all of them. Okay, so you got this building here. Let's look at the back of it quick. And that's the back of it. But yet they want you to think that it's like that somehow magically. See the lie, right? It's like tobacco, nicotine is bad, but they don't tell you there's 7,000 chemicals. But look at that. How the hell can you have that inside of that? Let's run through that and come over and talk about the ocean. But look at the building before they put a cap on it. Look at the guts hanging out of it all the way around it. Do you get it yet? Do you understand what the significance of what I'm showing you is? That you have to make a stand now. You have to come to, like, these buildings do not touch each other. Because that will make you a bad person. Okay, let's come talk about fishy. Let's talk about fishy. We can do that a couple of ways. I'll set myself up in case we decide to go that way. Maybe we'll do that. I don't know. Got to remember where I'm looking, but still got to glance over here or there to read it. Well, I got no room. I got no room. I got to find a little place to put everything. I just like... Fly away, little boy, fly away. Yoink. New scientist dumps all Fukushima waste in the Pacific. No risk to the U.S. No, because it's like a banana and potato chip or walking in the sunshine. It's like nicotine, not the 7,000 chemicals. Yeah? Experts fear a giant underground water supply, is a better way of putting this, of extremely contaminated water on the verge. On the verge! We got a bunch of Americans down there with hockey sticks holding it back. Official Chinese Fukushima contamination is serious. Serious crisis across the entire friggin' planet. Test seafood. So this was 2013. So you get all kinds of conflicting headlines, but Fukushima contamination is a serious international environment concern. Let's keep going. Let's start running into it now. Chernobyl was nothing. Well, Chernobyl was 600. Chernobyl was 600 kilometers away from the ocean. Chernobyl was 1/3 the size. Chernobyl stopped after 10 days. Chernobyl, just run through some of that real quick for everybody. So 10 days, and you know, Vidal had said in 2006 how 150,000 square miles was contaminated, including Ireland, Scotland, and Switzerland just opened its freshwater industry after 28 years. You still can't eat the milk or drink or eat the meat or sell the land in parts of Ireland, Scotland, and UK because of Chernobyl. Chernobyl was nothing. Fukushima didn't stop. Chernobyl only lasted 10 days. It was equal to 400 Hiroshima bombs. 400 Hiroshima bombs, so 40 Hiroshima bombs a day. But Unit 3 at Fukushima is 2 million. But Chernobyl was of any reactor on the planet, Chernobyl was only a 30% meltdown. It was only graphite, which is still really bad, don't get me wrong. There's 3 million children in Belarus with permanent disabilities because of Chernobyl. But Chernobyl was just hi Zoe. Chernobyl was nothing funny. Chernobyl, 600 pilots died. So it's consuming all the rocks and steel and rebar. 40, that was their estimate. You know, it was much more than that, trust me. But this is what they alluded to and admitted to, rather, was 400 Hiroshima bombs a day. It was 600 kilometers away from the ocean, so a lot of it was falling out right on the ground, the heavy stuff. But that don't mean nothing when a gram of it produces 88 curies. 88 times 30, 37 billion killer atoms. Now the reactors in Japan had 5 million pounds, they're gone. But they took those 5 million pounds and put them up in the roof, where they kept them for a decade in fuel pools that boil off into your communities, unimaginable amounts of curium. See, then they look for iodine and cesium. That way, you're not educated. They always tell you about bananas and everything else. But if people were to go out and look for curium, or the iodine 129, that's all man-made. So you put uranium in a reactor, and it produces everything. You're not putting in iodine. You're not putting in potassium. Doesn't come from a reactor, by the way. There's no potassium plumes out there, right? It's everything on the planet is acclimated to potassium-40 through genetic superior selection. Let's keep going. Let's start banging into these headlines here. Wall Street Journal, they don't know where the cores are. That's as old shit as it gets, okay? That's like, I'm not going in there. And so there's thousands of homeless have gone missing. They go in there and they get the x-rays and neutrons. 40 minutes later, their organs melted. Let's come back to Chernobyl, talk about Chernobyl for 1 second. And then we'll move on and get into it. Millions dead from Chernobyl, over 1 million dead. Chernobyl, you abandon the homes, you get free homes in Fukushima if you're pregnant. You tell me these people are not out of control. Zoe, hey, settle down. I'm just worried she's going to hit the cords and you wouldn't believe the mess I got here. You just... And she loves to sit right on all the cords. It's like, what are you going to do? You can't yell at her or hit her or something. I won't do it. Graphite fuel in Chernobyl. MOX fuel is 2 million times worse than any current reactor on the planet. That was Unit 3 in Japan, right? So let's come back over. You going to settle down? Right here. Come on. Like you're going to listen to me. You're over 15 years old. Okay, settle down right there. Good girl. Wow. She'd never done that before. After 15 years, she finally listened to me. She's just showing off for everybody. She's a big suck. Chernobyl contaminated EU. And that Fukushima killed the Pacific. They killed it. We documented it. I'm not going to... Let's go into the headlines, and I'll show you a little bit of that coming up after. Core's located right away. It was called an elephant foot. Not right away, within a couple of years. Yeah, Zoe, you're not getting up in the chair. She's going to do some stamping for a few minutes. I cut her nails, but I don't cut them really short because you're not supposed to do it. Some people do it to get rid of background noises. I trim the fur on their feet, and that gives them more traction. Especially an older dog, they need more traction, right? Okay, all right. Well, it makes it easier for them. Wall Street Journal, they don't know where it's all. It's all gone. I don't know why everybody's so upset. And let me see here. We're going to get a little blurp blurp. We're going to get a little blurp blurp for a second. Don't worry. Hang on. Blurp blurp. Coming up. I just got to put... it's going to be the same thing each time, so I'll do a fade and go black. Ah, that actually worked. See? Them lessons will pay off at some point for me. All right. Anytime you're ready, Dana. Get on with it, Dana. Statements by the Canadian officials. Well, we showed you the fallout models. Let me see if I can find a Canadian one for you right quick. Blurp, blurp. And a little blurp, blurp. There's so many models. Let me play one in the background while I'm looking. That's Noah's model. Oh, you like models. What do you got? Well, the Canadian model should be right there. What is not there, Dana? Oh, it's on the other one where I had the guitar top. Yeah. Okay, let's come back anyway. So, who knows what I got done now? Canadian officials undo sockeye salmon Use a Geiger counter. This was 2013. They were starting to emit to something. I didn't turn that on. So growing sense of crisis at Fukushima, very concerned. See 5 foods to never eat. See the banana? I always laugh at that one. But anyway, was pumped to be pumped into the ocean as part of bypass. So this is stuff they're alluding to. We're going to be hearing about Fukushima decontamination or contamination for decades to come. I'll get in the swing of this. Hang on. In the history of science, we've never seen anything like this Fukushima plume heading across the Pacific to the U.S. and Canada. Let's go back to that one. That one, Dana. Get your act together, Dana. Why is Japan allowed to get away with contaminating the ocean? See, if you don't understand that statement, don't feel bad. Think about the plume if it never went into the ocean. Even if it just wasn't hemorrhaging into the ocean all day, every day, constantly, and it was just hemorrhaging into the atmosphere. Just give us a moment. I can move that ahead a little bit and speed things up for us, I suppose. Let's get it up to what the date on that is, the 20th of March. So let's get it all the way up till the plume has now covered the entire Pacific Ocean. Stop it right there. That's on the 28th of March. This is one of the many, many models. Let's go back a few days. That's the 24th of March. I made a mistake. So that's the 27th of March. So now all in North America, but everything in North America is going to wash back down to the ocean. Everything in the sky, not everything, but a lot of it is going to fall out. Certainly not everything, folks. But a lot of it's going to fall out. And where's it going to fall out to? Look at that little spot down there called Hawaii, right in the center of it all. No, there's nothing in Hawaii, Dana. We can't find any here, Dana. You're a conspiracy theorist, Dana. Radiation doesn't fall from the sky, Dana. You're just a conspiracy theorist, Dana. The only thing falls from the sky is rain, and radiation doesn't like rain, Dana. Right? You get all of these whack jobs in the comment section. You got people that say, I made all this up, made all these charts up, made all these headlines up, photoshopped all those pictures up. On people who repost my stuff. Not everybody, but there's sites out there that grab my video, repost it, and puts those comments there on purpose. With ghost accounts, just to demonize me, get at me. They were doing that while we were on the ocean for 260 days. But see, even if it didn't go into the ocean, it would fall out. Do you get it now? Do you get it yet? See, just because it's coming out of a... Like, look at the model from NOAA. This is only... But these models that you're looking at are only based upon 2 isotopes. A little bit of iodine, a little bit of cesium from a man-made, vented, from number 2 reactor. Not from the meltdowns, not from the missing fuel pools, not from the detonations, not from the common spent storage pool, not from the 400 kilometers of the coastline, where waste sites were located throughout that whole area, and more nuclear power plants. Not from none of that. Just from 2 days venting. That's all you're looking at. Because a gram produces 88 curies times 37 billion. 88 times 37 billion atoms. And these are deadly. These are why we have terrorist laws. These are why we have nuclear waste holding sites. These are why we were fighting for Yukon Mountain to have a nuclear repository. I'm not fighting for it. Put everything, all your nuclear rods in one basket. It's going to go bad, man. It's going to go bad. Look at WIP. Look at any other facility where they try to store it. Once you have a detonation or an explosion or an event there, you can't get back in there. Then you have another pop, another pop, and you can never get in there. You can never deal with it, and then they have a chain reaction. The fuel rods can go in a chain reaction in 10,000 years' time by themselves. The fuel rods will never be safe. That's why we want to bury them a couple of miles underground. Or Japan wants to dig a hole under the ocean. Let's keep going, blurp, blurp. Here's another model real quick. So it's falling out into the ocean. You get it yet? Okay. All right. Let's go back and talk about fishes. Something I don't get too up screaming about on the camera. So the fish is dying, blah, blah. Japan's allowed to contaminate the ocean. And it did. It killed the Pacific. We done the expeditions. We got the documentation at the nuclearproctologist.org. Okay? All right. Let's get back to the story. Nuclear-friendly journalist is shocked we don't know where the fuel is at any of the 3 reactors. We found it at Chernobyl. It stopped after 10 days and turned into an elephant foot. But it created 400 Hiroshima bombs, 40 a day. This thing is creating around 1,000 Hiroshima bombs every day. You have 4 reactors are missing. Their fuel pools full of reactors, full of nuclear cores. Do you friggin' get it yet? Do you people out there that are scientists and academics and journalists and media and pundits and smear machines actually get the gravity? It's time to drop this. Nuclear's gone. Nuclear's dead. Nuclear's history. It doesn't realize it yet, or it does. I don't care, but it's dead. As people wake up and understand this, they got no choice but to turn against nuclear. We have to shut it down. It's consuming all the oxygen on the planet, all the oxygen production of the planet, particularly the phytoplankton, at a phenomenal rate. A million gallons a minute, 16 glasses in a million, or in a gallon, 16 million glasses a minute per reactor of salt water, and then each glass got 1 billion creatures in it. 75 to 100 million of them are the phytoplankton, the basis of the carbon sequestering the food chain and the oxygen production chain. It's the most maniacal thing imaginable. It's the most energy. It kills more creatures than all the other businesses on the planet combined. There's only 440 of them. It's an abomination where it pollutes the land. You got to dig up mountains. Let's keep going. I won't shut up. Seawater's being poisoned. Yeah? No shit. There's nothing left on our coastline. The other 4 million species didn't even try to reseed it. Fukushima radioactive tanks may have already been emptied. Yet because of containing X-rays and neutrons, you can't walk past it. So they don't need to tell you what they've done. They just went ahead and done it. They're dumping it into the rivers. They're burning it in the incinerators. They're dumping it into the lakes and the estuaries and the streams right across the whole country. But nicotine will give you cancer, not the 7,000 chemicals that are in your cigarette. Mine don't got 7,000 chemicals in your cigarette. I'm still addicted to it because I had 7,000 chemicals every day of my life not understanding it. So don't turn away because I'm smoking a cigarette. And that's the only way I can interject that in there and justify smoking a cigarette every day. Sue me! I don't care. I'm my cigarette. I wish I could quit. Not so much anymore because I can. Basically, I'm down to nothing. And if I get stressed out now, no matter what I'm doing, I'll smoke a quarter of a cigarette or a half a cigarette and then throw it out of the way. I'm good for today. So, let's keep banging into those headlines. National Geographic, you can't trust it, but anyway, here's a headline. Fears are mounting. At least for now, fish are not glowing, so eat up. That's what I mean, you can't trust them, see? So unless the fish are glowing, we shouldn't eat them. Are you gullible? Because they think you are. They think you're stupid as a rock. Oh, it's okay till the fish are glowing. That's what most people only read the headlines, see? And the ones that read the story, they're going to get assaulted with bananas, potato chips, and walking in the sunshine and shut your pie hole. Don't talk about nuclear. We'll put you on a watch list if you even look at it on the internet. The powers that be are not happy that I'm back. For season 3, episode 3, March the 23rd, 2016. Still kicking. Losing teeth, but hey, whatever. I'm back. I'm able to put a front on and get up here and do my show every day, and I crash and sleep again. 260 days on the ocean, up to 5 months without coming home, on 5 expeditions. And we counted less than 100 species out of the 5,600 highly visible ones. Let's throw that out there real quick, I suppose. We took this little boat, this dinky, this work of love and dedication and humility, and we went throughout the entire coastline. That's the little arrows you're looking at. Those little arrows. Let's get something else there for next time. Those arrows are just representations of spots where we spend a day, a week, a couple of weeks, multiple trips. That's just a representation of all those arrows of the coastline that we covered. The west coast of the Charlottes at the top of it was impossible. I spent 2 months there. We washed up on the rocks in hurricanes. We wrecked about $6,000 worth of damage there in just one storm alone. We got caught in many storms. Instead of the coast looking like this, and the whole coast of British Columbia, I got 14,000 hours underwater in both oceans. I know this coastline inside out. I ran over a dozen commercial dive operations on it. There's nothing left. These are from the same place, pre-Fukushima, post-Fukushima. Like, if that's not horrific, I don't know what is. Pre-Fukushima, post-Fukushima. That's frightening. Nothing left. Right? Look at it. Pre-Fukushima, it was wonderful. It was wonderbar. This is all from the same spot, but the whole coastline has less than 100 species. This was the worst you ever seen. This is what it should look like throughout the entire one, yeah? Instead, it looks like that. If that's not frightening, I don't know what is. Instead of being scared and terrified to go near the shore because of these guys, there was nothing there. I took the Zodiac and went right up on the beaches and walked around. Instead of being able to sustain life, instead of the birds coming in and finding something to eat, they came in and there was nothing there. There was no insects in the trees on the shoreline. Instead of being just incredible like it has been throughout the 26,000 islands, it's naked, it's desolate, it's shockingly barren. I mean, you would starve to death. Everything, if you were an animal and you were walking that beach, you will starve to death. There's nothing there. But that's pre-Fukushima, post-Fukushima. You know, how can you ignore the gravity of what I'm showing you? How can you not understand that the 4 million other species didn't bother receding the coastline? How is that not an event? How is that not the death of the Pacific when 4 million other species, when this got eradicated over the last couple of years, that has been there for billions of years. Now it's gone. How is that even possible? It is unbelievable, unimaginable, inconceivable that when you had an environment with 70 of these per square meter, you go back there after Fukushima, there's nothing left. Everything is gone. 100% naked. You can go ashore anywhere at low tides and it would look like that. Instead it's like this. But think about that next picture coming up. This is typical throughout the entire coastline of British Columbia. That's what made it so magical. 26,000 islands. Now it's extinct. And, you know, that was last year we ran those expeditions. If you were to go back later this year, it would still frighten. It would be frightening, I'm sure. Now the other 100 species are long gone. So it's hard to find 100 species deer. You find 2 or 3 species deer in that spot. Instead of finding 5,600 and 6,500 invertebrates, you know, instead of finding this plethora of unimaginable life coming up like this here, yeah, it really is shocking, see? So, just a quick reminder, last year they found 200 miles of the coastline in studies and a 5th spot off Baja, California, so they declared an extinction event throughout the Pacific. We done the entire coastline of Canada, 15,000 miles of traveling in a dinghy with another dinghy on the roof of it. It's not in that picture right now. And we showed an extinction event. That's an extinction event because the 4.2 million other species in the Pacific didn't try to recede the coastline. And that all the ice from the glaciers and the mountains are gone, so the lakes and the rivers and the estuaries are not able to warm up. That's from the curium isotopes, the tritium isotopes. It's shocking, really. So let's go back to the headlines on the Pacific Ocean and try to run through as many of them as we can for 10 minutes. Hi, everybody. Don't mind me, I'm just smoking a cigarette without 7,000 chemicals. And I'm not worried about the nicotine causing me cancer. I'm worried about the 88 curries in a gram of this shit causing me cancer. But hopefully in the next while I'll just give it up. It's just a bad habit anyway. But that's the way you weed yourself off it, is smoking cigarettes without the 7,000 chemicals. I know, novel idea. Dana, that's a little over the top. Why would you do something like that? Tobacco company got to make money, Dana. They got people working for minimum wage there. Actually, they're getting great wages, unless they're in the field. Then they're being robbed and polluted and destroyed at the same time. More headlines, Dana. Bring it on, boy. All right. So, Fukushima radioactive plume will continue to hit the shores of the U.S. and Canada for many decades. 2013, impossible to remove the molten core for hundreds of years if ever. This is Helen Caldicott. Yeah, but it's not an ocean killer, right, Helen? And number 4, collapses, you're going to move your family over to Australia. She should look at some pictures I got. Maybe that'll help her. TEPCO researcher says it's impossible to contain radioactive wastewater. They call it leaking. Everybody calls it leaking or bleeding. I want to smack every one of them right in the mouth when I read it. I want to haul off and smoke them. Not with the 7,000 chemical smoke them either. I want to haul off and slap them right in the face. Or just pretend I am anyway. I want to walk up and say, I'd like to slap you. That's not illegal, is it? They're not going to come arrest me for saying that one, are they? Like they did the last time. Probably won't do that no more. I think 60 articles written about it. Frighten the crap out of them, most likely. Typical admits not working on jack shit. Because only the homeless are allowed in there, right? Only the homeless are allowed to go in. And the destitute and the migrants who don't speak the language. And that's the same ones they're hiring now for the incinerators across the country where they're burning. Think about this country. Like you got 30 billion one-ton bags that are only meant to last a year or so. 30 million rather, one-ton bags. Scraping up topsoil and everything that's radiated. You could scrape up, they should dig up 6 inches of the entire country. The whole country. Then you got to drain all their fresh water out and start again. And dig up all the bottom sediments of all the ponds. They got to knock down all the trees and plow down the mountains. Got lots of landslides. It's just an impossible job. Because there's so much corruption. And because there's so many people that they're so indoctrinated with bananas and potato chips and walking in sunshine, they literally become stupid and passive. And they couldn't get a job anywhere else. The country has fought a lot. They lost their country. That's the destruction of the country over the next number of years. The death of the Pacific is already here. You can expect the mass die-offs to occur within the next couple of years too of humans. We're the only species left intact that haven't went through a mass die-off in the last couple of years. But we do recorded excess deaths in months of when the plumes were coming through. 20 extra thousand heart attacks or so. Just after Fukushima, that never happened in any of the previous years of that month. And the same thing with children. Let's go for a couple more headlines. I know we're going to run out of steam here. TEPCO admits not working on plan to stop Fukushima. Dana, you covered that. Keep going. Official blasts the Japanese government. We're just going to burn through them for a few minutes. Such immoral people. They let the radiation flow away freely. It washes off the land. They're burning it in the incinerators. They're dumping it in lakes and rivers and estuaries. They're pouring it directly into the ocean. Let's go back to that one. TEPCO admits not working. Japanese government over Fukushima, such immoral people. I like that one. Post-Fukushima horror, an unpredictable amount of damage to the Pacific. I went out and done the expedition. I showed you that documentation just now, right? Yeah, I did so. And you get it now, don't you? But they had all the power plants along the coastline, the east side. They had all the nuclear waste sites along that coastline was washed away. They had the common spent fuel pools at the reactor sites were washed away, caught fire, blew up, detonated. People ran away. There was no witnesses. Dead man tells no tales. Now I've become death, the destroyer of worlds. International scientists, Japan experts must be allowed to report health consequences. The official data is all denial. And the pressure is the Yakuza's, the mob coming and shooting you, or hanging you, or setting you on fire, or stealing your children or something to make you capitulate. News concerned about radiation levels in the fish in the Pacific. Whatever fish is left after the expedition, when it would look like that, if that's all gone, only that's left, right? That's all gone, so anything that's left is highly radiated. Unbelievably radiated and on its way out. The fish are consuming each other. That's what we're seeing anyway. The fish are consuming each other now. And the ones that are dying, everything that's dying is emaciated and starved to death. And you should never eat anything from the Pacific. New concerns about radiation levels in the fish from the Pacific. The numbers are staggering. It's a major event is right. CTV, that's Canadian. This is all major mainstream media that had reported on it, but muddled the water with bananas, potato chips, and walking in the sunshine. And with puke machines from the University of Victoria in British Columbia, Canada, and from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. These are disgusting, despicable, mass murdering PR firms for the nuclear industry, for the military-industrial complex, for the nuke cartel itself. Alarming mass die-off of the starfish. They claimed there was only 18. I showed in my documentation all the species except for 3 species. All 76 species were highly affected. Only 3 species were visible. There's probably 5 there altogether, but none of them were healthy. None of them were in their normal abundance. And we documented melted starfish throughout the entire coastline of Canada. Areas with rivers of body parts. Yeah, I hung out with the divers in the Queen Charlottes. They seen the ocean floor covered in starfish legs. It freaked them out. They had to leave. Doctors warned about radioactive substances from Fukushima coming to the west coast in 2014. Consider keeping kids away from the beaches is right. It's liberated the same venue, the same vectors as salt is, as fog is, through that same. So fog will carry more radiation in your community forever from the ocean. So will rain. Tens of thousands of miles of rain every day on the coastline. Starfish epidemic. Yeah, it's all turning to go. What's left? There's nothing left. Complete collapse of the sardine population, which is the basis of the food chain, the oxygen, the carbon sequestering chain. Not only that, the phytoplankton, the krill, the anchovies, the sardines, the squid, the herring, and the salmon now. The salmon are the last one because they ate all that and they're now gone. And that's because the glaciers are gone. They can't get up the rivers. There's no glacier water coming down to regulate the temperature of the river. There's no insects in the river for them to eat when they do get there, if they do manage to get up there. The bears are starving to death in the rivers. My kid had to put one down when he had researchers doing a species count up salmon up the river. The bear was starved to death. There was no salmon in the river. They couldn't get up. There was no snow in the mountains. The salmon actually spawned out in the estuaries in front of the rivers. Let's keep going. I got a few minutes left. Come on, Dana, get your ass in gear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Oh, yeah, I got 2 minutes left. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's hit a few more headlines anyway. Complete collapse, yeah. And all the whales starved to death. Biologist finds pink salmon are canary yellow. Inside yellow hearts, gills, arches, spines, cartilages in the head. Spleens were swollen. Now, we've seen them bleeding from the eyes, all 100 that were tested by Fisheries and Oceans. We just seen them up in same thing up in Alaska a few days ago. A mass die-off, and they were, the rainbow trout all had that affliction. Concerns about rain? Yeah, because it washes out the plumes I showed you earlier in the video from the skies that never stopped going into it. It never stopped coming out of there. This is the last headline we're going to go through. Nothing alive for over 3,000 miles. And Dana and the hounds of Fukushima went and done this side of the ocean. There was nothing alive for 15,000 miles. And whatever's left out there is highly radiated. Just eat from the Atlantic. At least that's not as radiated, but it's still highly radiated. Yeah. That's the way it is. You better get used to it. You better understand it. You better come to terms with it. You better start accepting it. You better start getting busy. You better start speaking out. You better start learning. You start getting articulated and becoming educated, because your friends and your families and your loved ones will need that support now that you're aware, now that you're paying attention, now that you understand. Hugs for everybody. Candace, Terry Ann, Amy, White Sparrow. The Geiger counter doesn't register. They only register like 1 in 6 counts, because the Geiger counter, the gases have to calm down and the electrons have to stop to register another one. Hi Thomas Ackerman. You'll find his links on my YouTube videos. Amthurs, Gigi, Duke, Mickey, Don, Jan Brooks, Elaine, Amthurs, Candace, everybody I'm not getting. Hugs for everybody. Dion, and I know I'm going to miss all kinds of people. Anthony, Just Cruising, Net Killer. I'm just trying to catch up to some names before we call it a stream. Kathy, anybody I missed, my apologies. Candace White. Okay. It's just another great day, another great stream. Lots of good stuff in the comments. Hi, Adam. Alex. And SS Nova. Hi, hugs for everybody. Terry Ann. Hugs for everybody. And I could have switched cameras first that time so I didn't look quite like a dork. But too late! We're back over here. So, we'll be back tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. Hugs for everybody. Take care, folks. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Thank you for your support.